You're listening to Born to Beam, a radiation therapy podcast hosted by John Claudy.
Welcome back to the Born to Beam podcast, where we share stories from the radiation therapy community. I'm your host, John Claudy, and today I'm excited to welcome Michelle Sanford to the call. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, hello.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am very glad it's a Friday.
Stay.
It's been a long couple weeks, but we're hanging in there, and I'm just excited for the weekend.
Well, I bet you don't have a daughter going to prom tomorrow like I do.
Oh, do you really?
Yes.
Is this your first prom?
First prom.
Oh, man. How does that work? Because in my school, granted, my school was super small, had juniors went to prom and seniors went to prom.
Yes. So
Is
it's
that
junior and
what it is?
senior prom combined.
All right.
And our school is huge. So my daughter is a junior. So this is her first prom. And her class alone is over 700.
Oh, my gosh. All right.
So
So we did prom in our PE building. That's how small it was. So we're getting there, maybe, I don't even know if there are 100 people there.
Yeah.
But where do they do prom? Someplace to fit all these people.
So outside, the school has a huge courtyard and they string lights up and it is all outdoors.
Oh, my gosh. And they do that every year?
Yeah.
What if it rains?
Yeah, I don't know what they'll do in case of the rains. Maybe they have a plan to move it indoors.
They've been lucky and they've never experienced it.
Yeah.
Well, man, that's big time.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Do you like the person she's going with?
So funny you ask.
She's not going to watch this. It'll be fine.
Funny you ask because she didn't have a date and her
Okay.
plan was not to go to prom. And
Oh.
she has her friend group and all her friends are like, come on, you got to go. You got to go. So she was like, you know what, Mom, I'm just going to, one of the cheerleaders that already graduated that she cheered with last year is
Yeah.
at Alabama, the University of Alabama, and she was home for Easter weekend. So she let my daughter rent a dress for $50. And my daughter was like, I'm going to just go and take pictures and have dinner with my group of friends, even though I don't have a date. And it was okay because she's going to the University of Alabama on Sunday for their dance recruitment clinic. So she was like, no big deal. Last night, she comes home for dinner. She says, oh, by the way, I have a date for prom. I was like, what? It's too late to even buy tickets. And undoubtedly, this little boy that I have not met yet is very resourceful. He asked her if he could get her a ticket. Would she consider going to prom? And now we are full-fledged, all things prom in 2 days.
Man. Well, yeah. I don't know if it'd been better to have a date months ago. Then you're like, there's the pressure behind it probably, or just to let's go.
And plan it, have planning, because now last minute we are getting a dress and doing hair and makeup, and he's got to find flowers. So she did text me and said, you're really going to like him, Mom. He's resourceful. He's found me a ticket and he's getting me flowers.
All right.
So I'll meet him tomorrow. I'll follow up with you on Monday.
Sounds like a good guy. And I guess, do they got to eat beforehand or anything? Or
No.
No?
Nope.
Do they eat there? My prom was probably a lot different than most people. This is just a super side topic we're going to talk about. So, when I went to prom, like I said, really small town. It was in the PE building. The juniors would host it and decorate everything. And the juniors always did a good job decorating. You would drive crazy things. So a lot of people, it was a farm town. So people would drive their tractors to prom. One guy took a helicopter once. If someone owned a nice sports car, they would do that. But everyone would have dinner first and then they'd go to prom and dance. And there was an after prom party, so people didn't go out and do crazy things.
I guess I should take that back because she hadn't planned prom. I didn't really know the plan because there was none. Although now that she did tell me they're meeting at different locations for pictures because that's a thing. And there's reservations made for their group somewhere for dinner. So they'll do that before they head over to the schools. Yeah, they will eat.
Got it. All right. It sounds like they got it all under control.
They've planned it all, planned nothing. But it's cool you say that about helicopters. I don't know if you know, I have a son that's a helicopter pilot for the Army. And how cool would that be?
Didn't know he flew helicopters, though. That's cool.
He does. Actually, he's been in aviation school for a year training for flying, and he's passed all his certifications and all his tests. And so Next Friday, the 17th, is what they call selection day, where he actually
Yeah.
finds out his airframe. So
Oh, wow.
he is praying and hoping for an Apache. I would be happy if he got something a little bit more subtle, like maybe a Black Hawk or a Chinook.
How long has he been doing that? Has he just been flying for a year? Has he been doing that like for a
No,
long time?
so he just graduated college last year in May. His degree is actually in forensics, but he did ROTC in college. So he commissioned as a second lieutenant, went active duty, scored really well, landed at
Yeah.
aviation. So he's been doing pilot training for the first year of the military. So now he'll get his airframe, do about another year of training on
Mhm.
that specific aircraft, and then he'll do whatever they tell him to do.
Cool. Yeah, that's exciting. But I can see how that would also be a little nerve wracking as his mom.
Maybe.
Yeah. But no, I'm sure you're proud of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then do you just have a son and a daughter, or do you have one more?
I do. I have three. So my
Yeah.
oldest son is also in the military. He is with the 82nd Airborne in
Cool.
Fort Bragg. So, and he's been in the
Yeah.
service 9 years. So,
Oh, wow. Good for him.
yeah. So
Proud parents, I'm sure.
they are busy.
Cool. All right. Well, very neat. I learned something new about you already. Why don't you tell us about, let's learn about you. You told us about your kids. What about you? Where'd you grow up? How'd you get to where you are today?
Wow. So I was originally born in Germany. My mom's German, didn't speak English when we moved to the United States. We moved to the US when I was 3. So
Uh-huh.
German was my first language. My dad was in the military, so he was in the army. So my hometown in Germany is Friedberg, Germany, which is actually where Elvis was stationed. A lot of people don't realize
Oh,
that was
really?
the actual base that he was stationed at.
Cool.
But that's where I spent all my summers growing up. My Oma and Opa and all my mom's family is still in Germany. United States, and I traveled around as a military brat and ended up in Oklahoma when I was in high
Yeah.
school. So I graduated from Lawton High School, which is in Lawton, Oklahoma, which is the third
Yep.
biggest city in Oklahoma, or it used to be. Went to OU, Boomer Sooner. Went to school at OU for a couple years, but I met my husband in Oklahoma, and he was in the military. And so
Yeah.
then moved around with him. And he's originally from Alabama. So when he got out of active duty, he took a job in Auburn in law enforcement. And so that's how we
Mhm.
landed in Auburn, Alabama.
Cool. Love it. So how long have you been in Alabama?
I've been here 20 plus years now.
Good time. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
I've been here a
And
while.
then how'd you get into therapy?
I actually wanted to work in radiation therapy from day one. So
Yeah.
when I was 18, so I met my husband right out of high school. And so we
Yeah.
got married. So we've been married 31 years this year. Um,
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. 31 years. And yeah. And my oldest, he'll be 28 this summer. So we had about 3 good years without kids before we really had to settle down. But radiation, I wanted to go into radiation therapy because we got married when I was 18 and I went just for an annual physical check and I had
Mhm.
HPV on my cervix. Was no HPV shots like there are now. There wasn't any of that. And so I did cryotherapy, went through treatments, and that really got me connected, not knowing what HPV and precancer cells were.
Mhm.
So after that experience, I knew from that point on that was what I was going to go to school for.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's my why. And then I was in school, like I said, in Oklahoma. I actually looked at in Wichita Falls, Texas, because I lived in Lawton. They had
Uh-huh.
a really great radiology program at Midwestern. So I looked at, going there and transferring there or OU. And of course, OU has a great program. And now they have a medical dosimetry program. That's amazing. I ended up doing
Yeah.
medical dosimetry at the University of Wisconsin. But if I could go back, I would have done the OU program, but they didn't have it.
Yeah.
But that was my why and that was my goal. And so once we moved around, I kind of went to different schools. And then when we got here in Alabama, the University of Chattanooga State Technical College had a radiation therapy program. So I finished up my associates in radiography here in Alabama and
Mhm.
then ended up doing my therapy program there.
Okay.
So I just kind of went to school at all the different places. So my
Yeah.
undergrad, my bachelor's, I actually have a degree in business. So business administration,
Man,
and then just kind of went backwards.
you sound very well rounded.
Well, thank you. I don't know about that, but thank you.
No, you definitely are. So tell me about the different jobs that you've had. in therapy?
So I obviously worked in radiation therapy for a long time in the cancer center setting. I started out in a freestanding clinic that was owned by some doctors. Um, Worked on the Linux, been in this field for a long time. So as most of the OGs, my experience in therapy was cutting cerebrum blocks,
Yeah.
and we did all type of internal. I even remember going to the hospital with the physicist. They used to do internal brachy procedures in the heart, like for plaque.
Oh,
Like crazy. We did bronchioles where they would come from surgery with catheters through the nose, and we would treat internal bronchial stuff.
wow.
And like I said,
Yeah.
cutting cerebrum blocks and doing all the things. So I worked in the cancer center setting for 20 years, over 20 years. During that time, as a traditional therapist, I worked in medical dosimetry part-time. I worked in management over non-RTTs. I was over registration staff. I sat on
Yeah.
cancer committees, even wrote a clinical annual paper for a hospital that I worked at. I wrote a
Yeah.
50-page annual paper on melanoma, ironically.
Jeez.
So I kind of did little bits of jobs here and there, different things, all within radiation oncology. And then
Yeah.
I came to Gentle Cure or Skin Cure Oncology 4 years ago,
All
worked
right.
as an RTT. My husband retired from the police department, and
Mhm.
Abby, out of the blue, reached out to me on LinkedIn. I was not looking for anything. I was just content as I could be. And she
Yeah.
reached out one day and was like, "Hey, we're looking for a radiation therapist in Auburn, and would you be interested?" And I'm like, "What is this?" Never, I didn't even know this was a thing. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Entertain it. Sure, tell me about it." And I was fascinated. I was like, doctor's office? Because mind you, I'm treating on a Linac and we're treating 40, 50 patients. Like we're busy
Yep.
and my kids are getting older, and I've got one in the military getting ready to get married and one getting ready for college. And I still have a smaller one. And this was sounding pretty appealing. So I was like, tell me about it. It's very interesting. And I'll be honest, I questioned myself of if I would feel that sense of fulfillment.
Hmm.
Because when you work and you're treating, breast cancer, lung cancer, even prostate, brain, all the things, you're seeing people at, their most vulnerable time.
Yeah.
And so my question was, am I going to feel fulfilled in this role? Like, because in our mind, because the things that we were treating, it's skin cancer.
Yep.
And I'll say I was absolutely pleasantly surprised and overwhelmed even with the gratitude
Hmm.
that patients felt because of how important this is to them. So that took me by surprise because I really wasn't sure. But after listening to Abby, I was like, I'm on board. I'm ready for a change. My husband's retired. This was a new adventure for me. And
Yep.
so I came on board, worked as an RTT, then became a clinical training specialist, always had students in the cancer center. And I love the realm of education. I've
Yeah.
thought about doing some adjunct teaching or something. I love to educate, whether it's my patients, whether it's physicians, whether it's fellow RTTs. And so
Hmm.
clinical training specialist gave me that avenue, did that for a couple of years, and then applied for the regional position. And now I'm
Yep.
working with an amazing group of practices and therapists and all.
Yeah. Here you
Yeah,
are.
here we are.
Well, cool. I love that. Yeah, I would agree with you on that sense of fulfillment in the skin cancer realm because a lot of our patients, majority of them, have never had any form of cancer before. And I think
Yeah,
when anybody hears the C word, they kind of freak out a little bit or worried, or I mean, it's a big deal to them.
yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely.
Well,
And I
cool.
think we take for granted that we hear of the other cancers and we're like, and
Yeah.
then when you get a patient that has skin cancers that's had 6, 7, 8, 12 Mohs surgery and scars everywhere, how important this actually really is. And even if they've never had a single Mohs, to have a non-surgical option, like a numerous amount of times that I had
Hmm.
patients that were just so thankful. So that was a pleasant surprise. I was glad that I was able to provide that comfort, that care to patients for sure.
Good. Awesome. Love that. So you're a regional director now. How's that going? I mean,
It
I'm right there
is
with you. So,
It's nothing like I anticipated this role. I say that in the most honored sense. Seriously.
yeah.
So many times, like especially so 5, 6 years ago, maybe longer. I got my master's in health administration at LSU with the anticipation of growing into an administrative role and using my resources and my education and my skills. And so you think you're prepared for a role like this until you're in it and you realize
Yeah.
there's no amount of education that can ever prepare you for all the things that it takes to balance. And so for me, I look at it, and I know you're a dad, I look
Yeah.
at it as from a mom sense. I thought being a mom is the hardest job in the world, and I do think it's still one of the hardest. You're balancing so many things, and you're multitasking, and
Mhm.
you're nurturing, and you're providing, and you're doing all the things, and you're constantly putting out fires. And that reminds me a lot of this role.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that too.
And it never ends. You know how as a parent, your job's never
Yeah.
over. It's never ending, but in a good way, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely in a good way. It's fun to watch people grow and just we're not helping patients, but we're helping people help patients, and
Yes.
that's what I like about it too.
And it's definitely different because, when I went to school to do dosimetry and you sit at a computer and you're doing treatment planning, you miss patient contact. You
Mhm.
miss you're so isolated and you're in a world by yourself. It is night and day from therapy. But in the
Yeah.
regional role, it is actually very fulfilling to meet with a therapist, to talk to providers, to watch practices grow, like all the things from little to big. It's a lot of interaction and you're doing a lot of different things, but it never is lonely.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. So how many people do you have on your team? Remind me.
I have 28 practices now.
Okay. Gotcha. And how do you feel like you support them?
I feel like I support my team in so many ways. So I am a very one on one, very communicative, personal interactions. So for me, I have very personal relations with each of the therapists on my team. Every month for one-on-ones. But to be honest,
Yeah.
we're constantly texting or emailing and chit-chatting back and forth. And even with my providers, I have some good relations. I had a provider that had his dad passed away recently, and I
Yeah.
was reading the obituary and had wrote him back. His dad's nickname was Wild Bill, and that
Oh.
tickled me when I was reading an obituary. And I was like, I never even met him, but I know he must have been an amazing man. And just emailing that doctor, and that has nothing to do with what we do. And the fact that he felt
Mhm.
even comfortable sharing in his last email, if you don't hear from me for a few days, my father passed away, I'm gonna be out of pocket. And then for the therapist to be able to share that obituary with me so that I could read and be able to communicate. And so it's more than just this job. Like we're building relationships. And
Mm.
even though he doesn't live in Auburn, he lives in another part of Alabama, it's still part of our community. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we're still people. And I think, we have to remember that. So when you ask me about my relationship with, my team and all my practices, it's at the end of the day, it's just that we're family. And I look at my team as like my extended family.
Yeah. That's great. I bet they love you.
I hope they do.
I'm
I
sure
hope
they
they
do.
do.
I'm sure they do. What would you say that is the most rewarding part of being a regional director?
I would say the most rewarding part is the mentoring, just watching people shine and grow, and the trust aspect of knowing
Mhm.
that they trust you, to guide them and to lead them and to mentor them and to work alongside of them. As I tell the therapists on my team all the time, we're a team. You don't work for me. I don't see that kind of level of hierarchy. I look at it as like we're a team. And so for me, the most
Mhm.
rewarding part is that, they trust me,
Yeah.
and that means a lot.
Cool. That's good. Love it. Have you, experienced any challenges? I'm sure you have, but any challenges that kind of speak out to you that you probably learned a lot more than some of the other challenges you faced?
How dare you ask me about challenges? There's challenges every day. I think for me right now in the role and where I am in life is The biggest challenge that I've learned is, well, there's two things. Communication.
Mhm.
Communication is the key to all things. And I probably at some point will get in trouble for communicating too much.
No such thing.
I do like to have that open dialogue and communicate with everyone, whether it's the practice, the therapist. And then the other thing for me is being proactive versus reactive. I just think that's important. I think we get so caught up in being reactive to a situation. And there's been a lot of challenges. So you asked me about challenges. Insurance is a challenge. I could go on all
Yeah.
day about insurance and healthcare in America. And when I was working on my master's, we had a specific course where we had to look up house bills.
Mhm.
Some people did house bills on legalized marijuana for their state, different ones. And I remember thinking, why are we looking up house bills? Like, why does that matter? Well, let me tell you, I have found out now why that matters. As an RTT, I didn't see it. As a regional, I see it. You don't realize how much our government lobbying changes in healthcare. I'm not going
Yeah.
to go on a tangent about it, but when you ask about challenges, that's challenges. Providing care for our patients and having to fight insurance shouldn't be an issue. And I know it's not just in our world of skin cancers or dermatology, it's all over, but that's a challenge.
You hit the nail on the head for me anyway. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe how challenging insurance has been and how political it all is. It is unfortunately driven by politics, and that is incredibly frustrating.
Yeah,
Because the only people, I mean, the people affected most are the patients.
absolutely.
It's really a crummy situation. But, and this doesn't even have to be necessarily work related, but what makes you feel most appreciated in life?
What makes me feel the most appreciated in life? For me, it's really just the little things. I'm not a person that needs things. My appreciations are words of affirmation, I guess. And so for me, it's that last week, happens to be work related, but one of the therapists was like, I know you are juggling so much. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you and what
Mhm.
you do. Like just her recognizing that. Or my kids, like my boys, even though they're both in the military, they call me every week.
Good.
And one of the things when my oldest went off to college, because he was my first one, I would always say, I know you're off and doing bigger and better things, but don't forget about your mama. Let me hear from you from time to time and let me know you're
Yeah.
okay. And every week I get a call from both of my boys just updating me on life and so for me, words of affirmation, whether they're actual affirmations of thank you, I appreciate you, or just their time, to
Yeah.
me, that's a form of appreciation. And so that for me is rewarding.
Cool. Yeah.
Mm.
Those boys better call their mama.
They do, they do.
Right.
Although I will tell you now that my daughter's about to be in her senior year, I didn't realize how hard it was going to hit me that my
Mhm.
last one. And I don't know if it's because she's a girl or if it's because she's the baby or both. So yeah, that's hard. I'm
Empty
getting ready.
nester coming up.
I know. I was gonna say I don't know how to transition into this next stage, but yeah. But the boys are great. They're amazing. They have turned out to be amazing human beings.
Awesome. It's good to hear.
Need
Cool.
that. Need that sometimes in this crazy time of unsettling
Well,
changes.
I mean, it speaks a lot about you too as a
No,
parent, you know?
I definitely was that mom. People that know me personally will tell
Yeah.
you I don't sugarcoat a whole lot. And so I didn't with my kids. I'm pretty sure I got looks sometimes in public like, I can't believe she said that or did that. Because, yeah, I didn't really sugarcoat things, but it always opened the door for open communication. And one of my boys actually communicates more than I would like at the moment, but it's all good.
All right. I won't ask any questions about that.
Yeah. Tells me too much now.
I guess that brings up another good question. What's something you hope people feel after getting to know you better?
I would say joy,
Hmm.
light. So I do this affirmation, and when I worked in the clinic and I used to see patients every day, this was very important for me. One of the things I would say in the morning, as I would read, my Bible verse. I have like a book with your daily.
Yeah.
But one of the things I would always end with was no matter if I ever say it. So I'm a woman of faith, and I will say that. And whether I ever say it, I want my patients to see the Lord's light through me. If my
Mhm.
light shines, then that means to me, I feel like I've served a purpose and I did something right. And that's always been very important to me. And so
Yeah.
I would hope that when people meet me, that they feel a sense of joy. They see a light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Amen, Michelle.
Thank you.
I think they see it.
It's a-
Yeah. Great. Cool. I guess I always try to think of one kind of crazy question to ask people towards
Mhm.
the end. And the one I have for you is we kind of talked earlier, kind of into music and everything. Your daughter's a dancer, but
Yes.
what is a song that always takes you back to a beautiful memory? And what is that memory?
So, yes, I love music. And without saying my age, I'm old school. And this will probably sound silly. So, I do remember a time when televisions were limited with stations, but we
Yeah.
played music in my house all the time. And while I will not sing for y'all, I used to love to sing. And I
Yeah.
thought I was going to be the next Whitney Houston.
Yeah. I can see it.
I thought I was going to be the next Whitney Houston, and I Want to Dance with Somebody is just my song. I would dance around the house. And so for me, when I think about like my childhood memories, so we still had a record player. I think those are starting to come back now.
Yeah,
But
we have one.
do you have one? Okay. We had a record player, and my dad had like this box, this bin, and we could go through and look at albums. And I would play a Whitney Houston album, but I Want to Dance with Somebody just always made me feel good. And I would sing. My dad would let me sing to the top of my lungs. And so for me, that's it. But I could think of a million songs, but that one is the one that comes to my mind that always makes me feel happy. So
Yeah. All right. I am going to have to work on finding video footage of you singing then. I
look,
bet you somebody has it somewhere.
it probably is some footage.
All right.
What about you? What's your song of choice?
Ooh, probably depends on the mood. There's a bunch. Right now, if you were like, since you asked me today, it's probably corny, but Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, just because my daughter's 6, but she still like adores that song. And if we're ever like in the car or something like that, she wants me to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on Spotify, and she'll like sing in the back seat, and I just love it.
Well, good. Because if I had to go with my kids' music of choice, my daughter back there, the dancer, it would be anything Drake. So
Oh,
anything Drake. So I'm glad I didn't have to pick the song or the music I hear in the car the most often.
yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. But no, I love
You
music
can't go
too.
wrong with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
No, it's a good one, and thank God it's that and not some crazy song.
So one of the therapists that I worked with for years at the hospital, she joined our skincare family, and she is working in our Auburn office. So she ends up watching this. Shout out to Christy, because she will tell
Yeah.
you we played Journey.
Oh,
We played a Journey CD for our patients for like a year straight. Like, oh my, so I almost was going to go with that one, but I did still have to go with Whitney just
yeah.
because I inspired to be Whitney.
No, that was a good answer. But that brings up a point. I feel like a lot of us, not in the past 5 years, but like from 2010 to 2020, I think a lot of centers, the ones that was at anyway, had a CD player that you would play music.
Yep.
And I think in most centers probably only had like 5 CDs. So all the place I work, like we memorized every word to every song, and we could tell you what song was going to come on next, and
Yep.
which a lot of people can relate to that. But it was also like a lot of fun, and I still like every time I hear any of those songs on the radio, I automatically think back to like being in the Linac room or being in the vault and listening to the
Yes.
song. And even remembering like started to sing the next song, like once it's done on the radio, you like automatically start thinking of the next song.
Yeah.
It's
That's
just
funny.
fun.
I remember it that same way.
Yep. Well, I think that's all I have. Is there anything you want to add or say, or
You know,
anything you want somebody to know about you that is a secret?
I don't think I
Or-
have any secrets. And I feel like now you all know my life story.
I learned a lot about you. Do you still speak a lot of German?
Yeah. So my mom still lives with us. And My middle son, the one that's a pilot, he's fluent in German, and my daughter's
Wow.
starting to learn German. So we don't speak it fluently in the home, but enough.
Yeah, like you could hold your own in a conversation.
Yeah. And my Aunt Sabina, my mom's baby sister, she still lives in Germany because all my mom's family still lives in Germany. She's coming this summer in June for 3 weeks. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. My husband, he'll get a little agitated because we'll all speak German
Yeah.
and he doesn't understand anything. And I tried to teach him. I'm going to share this with y'all. So I tried to teach him a little bit. He's not a good learner. And
Yeah.
so I tried to teach him wie geht's, which is like, wie geht's is like, hey, how are you? Right? And
Uh-huh.
all he could think of was Bill Gates. He has to associate words with something that sounds alike. And I was like, I just can't with you. So I'm excited when my aunt comes because I can aggravate my husband.
Nice. Poor guy, but that's awesome. I'm glad you could do that.
So if anybody needs a translator, y'all can call me. There you
Somebody's
go.
probably going to.
It's fine.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining. I know I kind of sprung this on you last minute. Thanks for joining last minute. And this was fun. Like, I definitely learned a lot about you. And I talk to you often.
Well, it's not normally our topic of conversation, but
It's not. Yeah. It's usually how do you put out this fire?
well, next time I'll call and interview you. How about that? So we can know
I'll
more
go for
about
it.
you.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Well, that concludes another episode of the Born to Beam podcast. Thanks again to Michelle for joining us. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And then also feel free to share this with any of your friends. All right. Thanks for joining and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you for listening to Born to Beam. This episode was brought to you by Gentle Cure by Skin Cure Oncology, a non-surgical radiation therapy option for treating non-melanoma skin cancer.